Kayla, and today I'm going to be doing the June and July reading wrap up. I feel like my last video I was like, I'm gonna film more, and that didn't happen. Like, that's just not who I am. I want to be a little more consistent with this. I'm really trying to like have hobbies now, and like reading is a hobby, but the idea of doing something a little more creative with it is like really appealing, which I think I mentioned in my mid-year freak out. But yeah, so I'm trying that. Hold on, the like air conditioning is on and that's loud as hell, so let me turn that off and just sweat. Okay, I'm back. Made that quieter-ish. My apartment's always so loud. I feel like I just, whatever. So yeah, I had really good reading months all summer, actually. I wasn't like reading a ton, but everything I read was so good. Let me see, how many books did I read in June and July? I read 8 books, so like 4 a month, which is basically a book a week, which is, I think, really good. Yeah, and they were all like good books. I only have 2 of them are physical, so I'm gonna be looking at my phone to remember what the other ones are. So yes, so the first book I finished was Parallel End House by Agatha Christie, which is another Poirot book. I'm trying to like read them in order now. I listened to the audiobook of that. I just missed him. I don't think I've listened to a Poirot book since like January or February. So I was like, I miss him. That one was really good, actually. I was very surprised. It's Poirot. He's always funny and clever, and I enjoyed that one. He's on like a holiday, and basically this finds out that this woman is like, somebody's trying to kill her, basically, and he's trying to investigate that and figure out what's going on and everything. And yeah, there is a murder and he has to solve that. And yeah, it's really interesting. I thought that it was one of my favorite, actually, which is, I don't know if I've ever heard people talk about it, but I thought that there were parts of it, like when I'm reading Poirot, I kind of just go along with it. I don't really care to like try and solve it. Like, that's with like mysteries, that's never really my goal, weirdly, because it is when I'm watching like a mystery show. But but I figured out like part of it, and I was very excited about that, because I think that was like the, even more than the like who killed this person or who's trying to kill this, her name's like Nick. There was like a really interesting little twist thing within that I really enjoyed. And I love books with Hastings, and because he's like such a good avatar for the reader. I know he's kind of a controversial figure, but I just think he's funny. I don't know. And all month, all June, all July, I was reading East of Eden. So most of my other books were like audiobooks or nonfiction. So then after that, I read Women Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given, which is just like kind of like a self-helpy, cutesy little thing. I follow her on Instagram, I think, and it was Kindle Unlimited, and I got rid of Kindle Unlimited because I don't use it. So I was just quickly reading the last couple things that I was like at least halfway through, or choosing to like DNF them or whatever. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It's just like a cute, I don't know, feminist kind of thing. It's very like feminism 101, and I'm not feminism 101, but I just think that like her way of doing it, like she's bisexual, so that was like a little twist on it. I don't know. It was just cute. Sometimes you just need something like that. I don't know. I didn't rate it because it's just kind of whatever. Then I listened to the audiobook of We Used to Live Here by Marcus, how do you say that? Clive? I don't know. The audiobook was incredible. This follows basically, it starts with the main character. Her name is Eve, and her wife, I think they're married, Charlie, just like bought a new house and they're renovating it, and Eve is home alone one night during like kind of a snowstorm, and this random family stops by and they're like, can we see this house? Like the dad's like, I used to live here, that's the name of the book, you know, Like I just told the kids about it. We're doing like a cross-country move and I was like, here's where I used to live, like let's go see it or whatever. And they're like kind of weird right from the beginning. Like pretty immediately, like the daughter just like wanders off and the dad's like, she just does this sometimes. And the main character Eve is like a people pleaser, so she doesn't want to like say no, and she's like, yeah, it's fine and all of this is fine, which like I think some people have said that that was like kind of irritating, but I'm like, I don't know, as a people pleaser I get it. As a reformed people pleaser now I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house, like no, you're not coming in my house. But yeah, I get it. And it's creepy. It's like a horror book, so it's like creepy and there's weird stuff going on. I think it's kind of like speculative fiction actually. I had something about it, like not anything about what the twist or any of that is, but I saw a review where someone said something about the speculative element, like what type of speculative, fantastical or science fiction-y, what thing is going on, and I was like, so that does kind of ruin it. So like really go in blind, and I'm not gonna say anything about it, but I really liked it and I think it was a good like psychological horror, very creepy. The audiobook is really good. There's like sound effects and all that fun stuff. There's like different like evidence of this like weird house, like through the years, like stories of the different creepy things that have happened there, and they have like a different narrator and like sound effects, and I always love that. So I gave it 4 stars, which, you know, it's good. I think if I hadn't been very slightly spoiled, I think it could have been a 4.5, but maybe not, you know, maybe the thing was super obvious. I don't know. It's hard to know when you've been like spoiled for it, how like actually obvious it is. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I feel like everybody read it like last year and loved it, so I'm glad I got to like be part of the hype. Then I listened to the audiobook of Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett. This is one of the Discworld books. I don't know what number it is in like the overarching thing, but it's the first of the Witches books. And I tried to read forever ago like the first book, which is like the Light Fantastic. It's over there. And it's very like, because all of Terry Pratchett's stuff is very like, everything in here is kind of playing on a different like fantasy trope or type of fantasy or type of fiction in general. And the Light Fantastic stuff, the Wizards books, are like very like high fantasy stuff, and like I don't really read a ton of high fantasy. I feel like maybe I'd like them more. One of my life goals is to read Lord of the Rings. Maybe I'd like them more after reading that and like understanding that, but it just wasn't funny or interesting or anything to me. I just couldn't get into it. But the Witches books are just kind of about a witch, Granny Weatherwax, and this one I really loved because as a kid I was a big Tamora Pierce fan, and like the Alana Song of Linus books are basically she like the main character like disguises herself as a boy and like wants to do things that like boys are supposed to do, you know. She wants to like be a knight, and this is like the only boys are wizards and only boys can go to the Wizard Academy, but like this is about like a girl wizard. So I really liked that, and I thought it was really interesting, and the girl wizard was like adorable, and so like I think she's like 11 or 12 or something, and she's just like so cute, and I really loved her, and I thought it was like laugh out loud funny at points and just really good, and I'm really excited to read. I think I'm going to do it like series based, so I'm going to read like the Witches books, and then my girlfriend says that I'll probably like I think the Death books and like the Night Watch books, so I'm excited to read those too. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4 stars again, you know, which is, yeah. Then I listened to the audiobook of Disney High, The Untold Story of the Rise and Fall of Disney Channel's Tween Empire by Ashley Spencer, and I listened to the audiobook of that because it's narrated by Lelaine from Lizzie McGuire, and I really loved that. It was 4 stars. I wasn't sure how much I was gonna like it actually, because I was like really into like Disney stars at one point. Like I have a past of like being really into like Demi, Miley, Selena, like in my early 20s. So I was like, this is probably just gonna be stuff I already know and it's gonna be boring. but I don't actually know that much about the Disney Channel that I actually grew up on as a kid. So like my Disney Channel is like Lizzie McGuire and like Even Stevens and So Weird and everything. And I actually didn't watch some of the other ones. You know, you turn 14 and you're like, I'm too cool for Disney Channel. So like I missed That's So Raven and Sweet Life. And then like in college, I got back into it like ironically, you know? So it's like I had this gap, which was really interesting to learn about that. And I thought it was just really, really well done. I gave it a 4, but you know, it's a really high, like positive, like strongly recommend for if you are anywhere really between probably the ages of like 23 and like, I mean, I'm 36, so 38. Like if any of these shows, Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, So Weird, like Sweet Life, Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, if any of that like meant something to you, like definitely I recommend it. I really loved the way it talked about a lot of the like race issues or like the gender stuff, like when it's talking about like High School Musical and about like when Vanessa Hudgens' photos leaked and like the way that was handled. And then interestingly later talking about like how Disney kind of learned from that experience. So when Miley's photos leaked, they were able to like support her more because they kind of like abandoned Vanessa Hudgens. And then they talked a lot about with like Raven, how obviously like Raven-Symoné is like so talented and like so funny and so like gorgeous and like just kind of completely abandoned as a star, even though she has like so much star quality because she's like fat and black and a lesbian. So, and she had to be, you know, she wasn't like forced to be, she was like closeted herself, but a little bit. So like, but like forced to be closeted by Disney Channel and everything too. And like, just, yeah, the way that they just kind of didn't support her music and all of that. And yeah, how I just thought that was really interesting. There was a really good quote from one of the Sprouse twins, basically, where they were just kind of like, our experience as boys on the Disney Channel was completely different from all the girls. Like, obviously they like worked with Ashley Tisdale and they're like, I can't speak to what Ashley Tisdale or Miley Cyrus went through. And I think that's really cool to like acknowledge, both like as a book and like for them as people. That's actually pretty impressive. And yeah, and I just thought it was really interesting. It was a lot of like, especially like a lot of the like how Disney Channel became what it is was really interesting. The Demi Lovato chapter I think was really done well because there's a lot of sensitive topics in there and I think it handled it well. So yeah, I definitely recommend it if like that's your era at all. Then I was like, I'm not gonna like this book, but I just want to know what the TikTok hype is about. So I, months ago, put a hold on Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. And it came in and I was like, let me try it. And I loved it. Like, I'd say like at least a 4, maybe a 4.5 star. It was just, it's like a dark romance. It follows this girl, she's like 30 years old, but like this woman who is a like trauma nurse. So that's like a really stressful job. And she's like, when she comes home, she like spends time on TikTok watching masked men content. I haven't seen that as content on TikTok, but like, you know, like this, wear the Scream mask and shirtless, I don't know. And yeah, and there's this one guy that she's like really obsessed with. He's like her favorite content creator. And it turns out that they like kind of know each other in real life. So she like is leaving him all these comments like, stalk me daddy or whatever. And he's like, okay. And does, I guess, but like, it's all very, I was worried that it was gonna be like very like non-consensual, very like creepy, because I tried reading like Haunting Adeline forever ago and I assumed it was like something like that, which was just like that was disgusting. But this was like all pretty consensual considering what the thing was. Like she genuinely did like want that and he didn't do anything that like she didn't like, and she figured out like who he was. He was like hiding his identity, but she figured out like who he was pretty quickly and like was into him. So I was like, that helps it not be sketchy. They did keep saying like no safe words. If you want me to stop, just tell me to stop. And I'm like, that means that stop is your safe word. All a safe word is like the word that makes you stop. It doesn't need to be like pineapple. But it was really good, and I just thought they had like really good chemistry, and they were like really sweet and really cared about each other, and I had a good time with it. But the like second book is like a mafia romance with following different characters, so I'm not interested in that. But yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun sometimes to read like silly little romance novels, you know? You need that sometimes. Then I listened to another nonfiction called Humankind, the exact opposite. Humankind, A Hopeful History by Rutger Bregman. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's like Dutch, so. And that basically is it debunks the myths, the ideas around the fact that like humanity and humans are just like naturally selfish and bad, and kind of the idea of like, oh, like we need like laws and all of that in order to like chain us or we'll be evil. And like, it's like, oh, look at the world, it's so bad, like isn't this proof that we're bad? And basically it just debunked a lot of it, like social psychology myths, which I found really interesting as someone who like studied psychology. I thought it was really interesting to like find out that some of the things that I thought were like very true, like actually are not. And like the bystander apathy effect, and like obviously I knew that the Stanford prison experiment was flawed, but going more into that and learning exactly how messed up it was and how like not scientifically accurate it was, and just all these sorts of different things about how, yeah, humanity is like our natural state is really to like be good, and that like power and like civilization and propaganda and everything corrupts that. Like basically like the news, like bad things sell, and they want us to be divided, but like in disasters like we come together. And one of the problems is actually that like we have too much empathy, so many people like when they're bombarded by all the terrible things going on in the world, they just like shut that off because it's like the only way to cope. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and I definitely recommend it if you were like feeling miserable about the world. It gave me a little bit of hope back. I don't know. And then finally, like on July 30th, I think it was, I finished East of Eden by John Steinbeck. It is 5 stars. I think it's my new favorite book. It is incredible. It follows a family. Well, it says like the intertwined destinies of 2 families, the Trasks and the Hamiltons, and like, yeah, but it mostly follows like the Trasks. So the most main character is this guy Adam Trask. You start with like a little bit about like his family and his dad, who like was in the Civil War or whatever, and then he like him and his brother like lived in Connecticut, and they had this farm, and then Adam decides to move out to the Salinas Valley in California, where we already were introduced to Samuel Hamilton, who is a Irish immigrant, and his like big family. There's like, I want to say like 8 kids or something, and one of them actually is marries like John Steinbeck's like father. Like John Steinbeck is a character, is like writing this, and he's like a character in it. But then like everything about the Trasks, the Trask family is fictionalized completely, and then stuff about the Hamiltons is like semi-real, semi-not. So that was wild because I had no idea about that. But it basically is the running theme through it, and a story that comes up repeatedly, is like Cain and Abel from the Bible, which like, it kind of explains it to you if you don't know it. I went to Catholic school, so I know it. But the idea of like good and evil, kind of a little bit like what I was talking about with the nonfiction I read. Just this idea of like, are we doomed to be like our parents? Can we change our fate? Can we, all of that kind of stuff. And there's like two important like brother relationships in the book. And yeah, I loved it. My favorite characters were Charles and this controversial Kathy. I just found her terrible and interesting. I love a evil, flawed woman. And then I loved Cal. Like, he was my baby. And yeah, and I cried because it was beautiful. I cried from beautiful writing. I cried, the characters died. I cried, you know, it's a generational story, so obviously people have to die. And yeah, it was beautiful. It took me, I started it in like mid-May, and it took me until the end of July to finish. I really took my time with it, but at the end, I read the last like 200 pages like in 3 days, because I just could not put it down. It's incredible. I highly recommend. It is incredibly intimidating, but so worth it. He is an incredible writer, and this is an American classic and considered one of the greatest books of all time for a reason. It's a book that I feel like when I'm 60, I'm gonna want to reread, and it'll hit me different with different life, you know. But yeah, it was amazing, and I'm so glad I read it. And yeah, so that was 2 really good reading months, and August is already off to a great start. I've already had a 5-star. I'm reading the new Riley Sager, which is always fun. Is it, when I get to the end, am I like, was that good? Who knows? But I always have fun. And yeah, so I'm excited for an August wrap up, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you sooner than another month.